Okay, so here we have another redundant little snippet, for no reason, unfortunately. I pored over YouTube just looking for more and more teachers or gurus or whatever that would give me that juice. I wanted that non-dual aliveness, but I wanted it from someone or something else other than myself. When I say myself, I don't mean a separate entity. I just mean the being of aliveness that I am and that you are. So I would scour the internet. I think I've mentioned that before. Just wanting that hit, that next hit of non-dual power. And it's the same, for regular seekers in the world. I saw the Michael Jackson film, This Is It, and you can just tell that people are wanting that aliveness, that's coming out of the performers and that passionate sort of intensity, you could call it. People just crave that. Life itself, performers, athletes, everyone that everyone else seems to look up to, seems to sort of exude at times the presence that we are. But I mean, that's crazy to imply that someone exudes it and someone doesn't. This is all there is. All there is that presence, and no one has it, and no one transmits it. So this isn't about any type of energetic transmission from a person to a person, because there are not any separate persons to do that. I didn't decide to start speaking about nothing. It just happens in the same way that the sun burns and the planet revolves around on its axis and the moon is kept in place and all those impossible intricacies that the mind can't fathom at all. And the mind can't even fathom how this is happening. How a guy in a red shirt can even be, and how the listener can even be listening. Even that is unfathomable, and that's just two human organisms. So where is this entity that claims any doership, authorship, or whatever, even thinkership, any of it? This entity that we take ourselves to be, the problematic identity, or Muji calls it the I entity. There is no such thing, but it's a living as though I'm a separate person, and it's an experiential validity that creates a lot of apparent suffering. But apparent suffering is bad enough. Just to have a sort of intellectual clarity that suffering isn't real is about as good as, any other type of statement. It's at face value, it's meaningless, because if there's still that sense that there's something wrong, it implies that there's someone for whom there's something wrong. And that, you could say, Charlie Hayes calls it, the investigation is called for. There's no one doing the investigation, but the investigation can still happen. John Grevin points out the paradox of that. Even though there's no one doing the investigation, it can still happen. And I think he goes on to say, and when it's seen that there's no one asking the question, who am I, then no one has uncovered the false center of me, or something to that extent. So this is about no one seeing the false center of me. No one meaning just aliveness itself, awareness itself, seeing that there's no one here as an entity. There's just beingness. And this isn't esoteric, remote, or reserved for the very few. This is already all there is. So this isn't a religious ideology or a command or even a suggestion. It's just a pointing to what is right here. I'm gesturing as though it's an object. It's not. It's more like the space here. or behind. It's more like space than any object. But all the objects are just space themselves, as any physicist will likely tell you. So this is easy. I can't even say it's easy. This is just what is. Easy, difficult, good or bad. All the dualistic opposites fall short and collapse in the immediacy of this. You and me have no place in what is. What is full without me. So I'm not enlightened, and no one has ever been enlightened because there has never been anyone. And it's not about being a humble person either. It's not about being sort of a humble servant of God or something, because as soon as I think I'm humble, that's just more arrogance. So this is totally beyond any ideology or any type of conceptual framework that the mind can deal with. The mind cannot handle this at all. So if there was anyone to suggest anything to, I would say just see that this is it. But that the seeing is already happening, so that's the words are as feeble as spitting into a thunderstorm and trying to divert it or something. It's just so I'd almost rather just have a blank screen. I'd rather just disappear, and then just have the aliveness instead of this form implies a person, right? It implies that there's a person here. Woo. But for the sake of communication, if anything, just see that this is ordinary. This is just an ordinary sort of eccentric personality talking about something that's immediate, obvious, and familiar. It's familiar. It's the most familiar thing there is. It's the most familiar sense of home. It's not like being at your house. It's being home. It's just at home. No one is at home. There is just home. And that's the passion. That's the sort of oomph, the aliveness that wants to express itself, because there's a silent in loveness in the sharing of this, because it's so real and so juicy. It's so transcendent to what the mind wanted for itself, what I wanted for myself, as happiness or love, or the ideas I had about those things were so feeble. Just amazing that I would chase such things when the immediacy of present aliveness is just so far beyond my expectations. And I'm glad I don't have it. If I had it, I could lose it, and I'd have to protect it from someone, from an enemy that could take it from me. But there's no me to take anything from. This is a dream. This is an absolute, convincing play of light. It's just light. There's just light dancing on what we are, which is love itself. Unadulterated aliveness. Completely free. Sort of an infinite potential. The body mind is just sort of a puppet. It's just an extension. So this is it's hopeless because it's already this. So there's no need for a next video, there's no need for a next sentence, there's no need for a next me. You are that. Nisargadatta's book, I Am That. Just see what that is. It's so immediate. So thank you for listening. I love you.